Finally, Sergio Leone's Man with No Name trilogy is complete on the 4K formats. We've got your full review right after this. Guys, hello and welcome to Serial at Midnight. It's a banner day because we're talking about the arrival of Leone's Man with No Name trilogy, also known as the Dollars trilogy. You know the movies, the Clint Eastwood films from the 1960s, directed by Sergio Leone, A Fistful of Dollars, For a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Now, keen-eyed viewers will remember that we've already talked about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly about a year ago. There was a dedicated 4K review for this because I think it was the market tester to see if it would sell well enough to bring the other two films to 4K, and it did. These both arrive on May the 31st, 2022, same day release for both of these, completing the trilogy, and I'm so excited. You guys are going to want to know how they look on the 4K Ultra HD format. They look great. Here's my poll quote. If anybody from Kino Lorber is watching this, these discs represent the definitive presentation of Sergio Leone's vision on home media. They've never looked better than they do here. I don't think they ever will look any better than they do here. I think this is it. This is the top of the mountain for these movies. I've had them in every format. I've been holding on to my original Blu-rays for a long time because, well, why? Because of the revisionist color timing from the last set of Blu-rays. Let's talk about that. So a few years ago, the movies were restored in Italy. Those restorations from a few years ago had added new color timing. They had added a teal overlay to some of the movies, and in the case of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, they'd added a gold-orange color timing, which I know what they're doing, right? It's the ecstasy of gold, the theme of gold in that movie. Thematic, I get it. But revisionist color timing is super controversial. Some people are going to argue that that's how they're supposed to look. And so those Blu-rays that Kino Lorber released from those restorations a few years ago had the revisionist color timing. That has been corrected for these 4K releases, which do also contain Blu-rays with the new color timing transfers here. So what does that mean? That means that if you have the Blu-rays already, these are not the same. This is the newly revised transfers with the color timing corrected. There's been 24 hours, roughly 24 hours per film. So for me, they look fantastic. The 4K scan really brings it. Now, if you, again, something I have to point out too is if you have the 4K remasters on Blu-ray, you don't have these movies in 4K. These are native 4K. 4K carries much higher resolution than a Blu-ray. So those Blu-ray, the 4K transfers to fit onto a Blu-ray had to be really compressed. These are 100 gigabyte discs. They're huge files. These are majestic. Again, they'll probably never look better than they do here. The fine grain in the film, it looks so good. I've never seen these movies look so good. And here's another controversial topic. No HDR pass was given to these new restorations. I know that there's a lot of people out there, because they tell me, who equate 4K with HDR. But those aren't the same thing. 4K is a resolution. HDR is a color treatment that is added to bring out more highs, basically widening the color spectrum. I'm a big fan of HDR. I have Dolby Vision on my television, and I can certainly notice when something does have HDR that should have HDR. I'm like, wow, look at, animated movies, CGI stuff. It looks so good. Like if you're watching a Spider-Man movie, you want HDR. These movies don't necessarily benefit from HDR. I know some people are like, no. But listen, they're brown, and they're gray, and it's smoke and wood and dirt. And I would go as far as to say that if you did not know, that if I was not telling you that these did not have HDR, you would think that it does. They look incredible. If you love these movies, you absolutely want to have these in your collection because this is the definitive presentation of Leone's trilogy. Let's talk about the movies a little bit because I don't want to spend so much time talking about the technical specifications that we don't talk about the impact of these movies. These movies changed the game. I say that they were so inspired by American Westerns, but then American Westerns were in turn inspired by them and ended up chasing the look, the sound, the tone of these movies for the next 15, maybe even 20 years. You can chase this all the way up to Unforgiven. Clint Eastwood's legacy, which is why he hasn't really done a Western since Unforgiven, because it's kind of the coda to everything that he'd been doing for the last 25 years or so, starting with Rawhide. These movies changed the game. They are so iconic. The cinematography, the score from Ennio Morricone, these are the things. When you think about these movies, I would go as far as to say, when you think about Westerns in general, you're thinking about these movies. You're thinking about close-ups on the eyes, the hand hovering over the gun, the boot in the dirt with the spur. All that comes from these movies. And they really did marry so much of the Italian tradition with its comic books, right? It's opera. By uniting rock music with the comic book imagery, and then like every image is a postcard. It's framed so perfectly. I weep for the days that I watched so many of these movies on a square TV where it had been chopped. And now they are pan and scanned. And so many spaghetti westerns still languish in full frame, terrible TV prints, and need restoration badly. But these movies are just magnificent. And A Fistful of Dollars is the cheapest and the shortest of the three. I should point out too that the 4K restorations they do what they can, but let's remember these movies are limited. They were low budget films. Basically, the first movie was a $200,000 production. There's no replacing the fact. There's no getting past the fact that these movies were not made to be studied 60 years later. They were just a product to get people into theaters and have a good time. So know that going in. And then for a few dollars more, I believe the budget was $600,000, so triple the budget. But that's still $600,000 for a full movie. By the time of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, we're over $1 million, and it is big, big, big. That's probably why this one has had the most staying power as well, because it's the most epic, it's the longest, it's the most beautiful. The score, the cinematography, all this stuff, it pinnacled with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Did it continue with Once Upon a Time in the West? I would say maybe it did, but we're not talking about that. If you love these movies and you haven't seen Once Upon a Time in the West, you got to go check that out. But they are iconic films that really can, should, and have been studied as models for what Italian cinema, just Westerns, what movies in general can do. The power of movies. They're almost silent, right? You don't need words to follow the story here. They're just magnificent. So I love the films. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys about the trilogy. I get really excited about this stuff because it means so much to me. Oh, we haven't even talked about the special features. So I can finally retire these because every special feature that's included in these actually went line by line. Every special feature here has been carried over to these new 4K editions, these old MGM. See, I don't have the Kino Lorber ones with the revisionist color timing because I was so put off by that color timing. So I hung on to these. But now I can retire these because all these special features have been carried over. Let me show you what's included really quick, starting with A Fistful of Dollars. I'll also say these slipcovers. There's no unique art here. This is not a reversible art wrap. But I know there's a lot of slipcover collectors out there. In fact, I know that some of these things are going for serious money on eBay. It's just a piece of cardboard. If you missed the slipcover, you haven't missed anything highly collectible, in my opinion. The real gems here are on the disc. It's the movie itself and the special features. They've carried over Christopher Frayling's commentary, all the Frayling archive material, all of these. You guys can freeze frame that if you want to. But they've added a new commentary with Tim Lucas. And one of these, I believe, has a Trailers from Hell somewhere. And then let's talk about For a Few Dollars More. Flip that around. You can freeze frame that if you would like to as well. Again, the Frayling commentary, the Frayling archive material. Audio commentary by novelist and critic Tim Lucas, another new commentary here. All the stuff, the image galleries, the radio spots, all that stuff has been carried over. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And again, we've already reviewed this, so this is sort of a cursory pass on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But if you want to see that, check the description of this video, and maybe I'll link to it up here as well. But again, new commentary by Tim Lucas. All the documentary stuff that was on the MGM doc has been licensed and included here. So that is my review for the Dollars trilogy, the Man with No Name trilogy. Some of the most iconic movies in the history of cinema, and I don't think that that's an overstatement. I don't think that that's hype or blowing smoke. I think that is a fact, Jack. These movies are, they are legendary. Let me know what you think about them. Will you be picking these up? I'll put links to where you can order these in the description of this video, and you'll be helping Cereal at Midnight out while you get something really cool. So guys, thank you so much. Until next time, we'll catch you later.